Today we are going to start our investigations on living organisms, life sciences. Now, living organisms vary from humans to animals to plants to tiny little insects and spiders. What we're going to focus on today are plants. Now, plants start off from tiny little seeds. And when they're given the right conditions, when they're given the right requirements, then they grow and they turn into plants. Now, what I have here are a variety of different types of seeds. I have radish seeds. I have alfalfa seeds. I have some wheat seeds, some barley seeds, and finally, some clover seeds. Now you can see that all of these seeds look different. They are similar. They're all small. Some are smaller than the others. The colors are a little bit different. But the question I want to ask first is, are these seeds alive? Well, let's look at them. Are they growing? No. Do they look like they're doing anything? No. But will they grow if they're given the right conditions? Yes. So seeds, right now they're not growing yet, but they are alive. They are in their dormant stage. Dormant means they're kind of taking a nap or they're sleeping, and they need to be woken up. Now, today we're going to learn about what things do they need to wake up. And once they do wake up, what do they need to grow? Before we talk about what plants need to grow, let's talk about other living organisms like us. What do we need? What are some things that we cannot live without? The first and most important thing that we need is water. In fact, all living organisms need water, and they cannot survive without water. That includes animals and plants and insects. They all need water to grow. And that happens to be the secret ingredient to get these seeds to wake up. To get them out of their dormant stage, they need some water. What else, once we've woken them up, what else do you think that plants need to grow? Well, we need food, and animals need food too. Do plants need food? They don't need food, but they do need something to help them make their own food. Can you guess? It's the sun. The sun's energy helps plants actually make their own food. Not only do they make food for themselves, but they end up making food for us. We eat lots of plants, like celery and spinach and lettuce. All of these are different types of plants, and they have made their own food. And in turn, their plant becomes our food. Now, we're going to plant these seeds, and we're going to give it water, and we're going to give it sunlight. There are a few other things that it does need. It needs air, like we need air. It needs space. They need to have some space to grow. And once they do grow, we're going to see what their structures look like after. For this lab, you will need one clear plastic shoebox, saran wrap with holes poked into it, 5 cups of soil, 100 milliliters of water, 1 tablespoon of 3 different types of seeds, and you need the terrarium map. Today what we're going to do is we're going to build a terrarium. Now a terrarium is a very, very fancy word for a garden, but a mini garden. I'm going to use this plastic box. If you don't have one that looks just like this, don't worry about it. You can use any plastic container or a plastic shoebox that really does the job. As you can see, it's just a plastic container. And right now it's not a terrarium yet. We need to add certain things to it to make a terrarium. Now I have a special lid that has tiny little holes inside of it, and that's to help the air get in. If you don't have a lid like this, it's fine. You can just use a piece of saran wrap and you can just poke holes inside of it. For today's lab, you're going to need a plastic container or a plastic shoebox with or without a lid. You're going to need regular water. You're going to need some soil and a cup to pour the soil and to measure the soil. And you're also going to need 3 different types of seeds. Any seeds you have at home are just fine. I'm going to use wheat, alfalfa, and barley. The first thing you're going to do is you're going to take your container of soil and your cup, and you're going to measure 4 cups of soil. Make sure they're nice heaping cups, and you're going to pour the soil evenly onto your plastic container. That's 1. That's 2. That's 3. And that's 4. You can use the cup to even out the soil. And at this moment, we're going to pause, and we're not going to add our seeds yet, just because we're going to have to take out our terrarium map. We're going to use this map to figure out the placement of our seeds. Now that we have our soil inside the container, it would be really easy for me just to take my seeds and put them all in there. But is that the right thing to do? I mentioned before we need a terrarium map. And that's exactly what we're going to do. We're going to map where we're going to put our seeds. This way, once our seeds grow, then we'll know what is growing and where it's growing. The first thing you need to do is you need to label the front of your shoebox or terrarium. You can place a little blue sticker here, or even a sticky note, whatever you want to label the front of your terrarium. Now, on my map, I'm also going to label the front of my terrarium. And this is going to be my front. Now, I need to decide how I'm going to plant my seeds. Where am I going to place them? Now that I have my soil in my container ready to go and I have my seeds ready to go, I can map out how I want to plant these seeds. You can make the map vertical or horizontal as long as you have divided it into 3 equal spaces. I'm going to divide mine vertically. And down here I also have a key to help me guide me so that I don't need to write the name of the seed so many times. I'm going to make an A for alfalfa. You can also make an A if you have another bean you're using, like a mung bean. You would use an M, or you could use a star or a circle, whatever you like. I'm going to use the letters W. That's for wheat. And I'm going to use B for barley. Now in my first section, I'm going to put my A's, because this is where my alfalfa will go. In my second section, I will put my W's because this is where my wheat will go. And in my third section, I will put B's because this is where my barley will go. Now that my map is ready and I have located the front of my terrarium to match the front of my other terrarium, in my first row, I'm going to look at the map and it says alfalfa. So I'm going to put all the alfalfa all in one spot, making sure it doesn't go to another side. My second row is going to be wheat. So I'm going to sprinkle the wheat kind of all over, trying to give them space. And finally, my last row will be the barley. Now that I have added all my seeds, I need to cover the seeds with a little bit of soil. I'm going to get 1 more cup of soil and I'm going to gently cover my seeds with the soil. And now I am almost done. Not quite. It's the most important thing that they need, not only to grow, but to wake up. They need water. At this point, you're going to add about half a cup of water. You need to add about half a cup or 100 milliliters of water. If you have a syringe at home, or if you have a pipette at home, that would work. And if not, a cup will do just fine. I'm going to fill up my syringe. This is 25 milliliters, making sure I add water all over. I'm using the syringe. It's just easier to measure this way, and it's easier to make sure that I can get the water in every single possible spot. That's 25 milliliters. My second syringe will make it 50 milliliters. Again, making sure that every single part of the soil, that all the seeds do get the water. 2 more syringes, so this is my third, making it 75 milliliters. And lastly, the last syringe, so that now I have 100 milliliters of water added to my terrarium. Now let's go over everything we have done so far. Remember, we are making a terrarium. Terrarium is a mini garden. So I have my shoebox, which is just the container. I've added soil into this, and I've added my seeds, and I have added more soil and some water inside of here. Is there air? There is air. And I tried to space out my seeds so they have enough space to grow. Now, there are a few more things that you could add inside of a mini garden. I don't have those materials right now, but you may have them if you have a backyard with some worms or snails or little beetles and bugs that you could put in there, because those also live inside of a terrarium, and that's also an important part. I don't have it, and if you don't have it, that's fine. The last thing you're going to do is cover your terrarium with a lid. Now again, if you don't have a lid and you have some saran wrap, that's great. Take some saran wrap, just poke some holes. Now this will have to go probably indoors so that it's not too cold overnight, but somewhere in a sunny spot so that it can get the right requirements to make the food that it needs. And then you want to just leave it. You don't need to give it any more water. You are going to just leave it for about 7 to 10 days, but making sure you're watching it every day or every other day and looking for evidence of growth. Assemble your terrariums. Can't wait to see what they look like. And there are 2 more questions at the bottom of this sheet that you need to answer. Now, here I have my terrarium that's been growing for 2 weeks. Looks different, huh? Very different. How exciting. I had to take my lid off, and you can take yours off too if you see the plants are growing. And at this point, once you take the lid off, you do need to give it some more water. But you know, I don't remember what I planted where. I don't remember what I planted where. Should I guess? I wonder, I can't really tell. And these 2 look pretty similar, but I know they're not the same. But I have a map. I'm gonna look at my map, and I remember that, well, in the first column I had alfalfa. In the second column I had wheat. And in the third column I had barley. Do these plants look exactly the same? They don't. These 2 look pretty similar, but even those are different. The wheat has leaves that are thinner than the barley, and the alfalfa looks way different. It's nice and short, but it's growing. It's filling all over the place. Now, if I take a closer look, I see something else. Can you see it? Let's take a closer look, and you can see that the structures of the plants, all 3 look different. The wheat is in the middle, the barley is on the right, and the alfalfa. Well, all 3 seem to have green leaves. If we look at the bottom, well, what is all that white stuff? What is that? Is that something we had in the soil? Not before. Those are the roots of the plant. And the roots are growing down as the leaves grow up towards the sun. Now I have another type of plant. This is my corn plant that I planted. Not in this terrarium, but in another one. And it actually popped out, but you can see that the seed is still intact. But out of the seed, you see one long root and another root starting to grow, and the green stem growing up towards the sun. Now, if we look at another corn seed that's been planted and it's been growing much longer, well, doesn't have 1 root or 2 roots. It has so many. And even from one of the roots, you can see that many, many other roots are starting to grow. How cool is that? And this plant is a little bit taller, and it has the same green leaves. And the corn seed is just hanging around there at the bottom. Go ahead and find the materials for your terrarium and assemble them, and I can't wait to see what yours look like.